Hey everyone, in this video I wanted to show y'all how to do a Viking knit woven chain, kind of. It's like making a flexible cord out of wire that won't snag your skin or your clothing. There's the materials that you'll need for this video are a dowel or mandrel. There's a tool called a lazy daisy, and those are really nice, but I don't have one. So I'm using a 1/2-inch dowel, wooden dowel, just from the craft store, like Home Depot or something. This is a knitting needle, like calibrator measurer. It has these really nice gradiated holes in it, or you can use a wooden draw block. There are some tools specifically designed for doing Viking knit. Again, this is what I had on hand. I've also in the past used oh, I don't have any directly here next to me, but like the center of like a spool of wire. Come on, I know you're somewhere. I don't have one, but anything that has a hole about that big on it, you can draw your stuff through. Another idea for if you're just grasping what you have on hand, a cake decorator in a larger size that's just round, but you could feed your Viking knit through the large end and then use that as a draw block. Now, it doesn't give you a whole lot of option for different sizes, but it'll work in a pinch. So also I've got some little like polymer clay tools. Anything that has a little hole in it like this, you can drag this stuff through. For the most part. I'm sure there's, you know, reasonable limitations or something. But also some wire snips, some pliers, some pointy stuff. I have a needle tool that I use in polymer clay, as well as one of my favorite tools here recently, a porcupine quill. It's just, I don't know, I like it. It's got a little rounded end, pokey, and a little pokey end, pokey. But yeah, so that's, I think, all that you'll need. In this tutorial, I'm demonstrating with both 20 gauge and, not 20 gauge, I don't know what I'm talking about, 26 gauge and 24 gauge. You can use 20 gauge, but it's pretty stiff and rigid. I don't recommend it for your first time. And then also, if Future Vaughn remembers to, there's going to be a link popping up, like maybe in this corner, might be that corner though, I'm not entirely certain, on how to make your own coiled bead cap. And these are very important because you can either purchase a large bead end cap from the store, or you can make your own. And I always have more fun making my own stuff. So let's get started. So I'm going to be demonstrating how to start off a section of Viking knit. I have this knitting needle calibrator, which also performs beautifully as a draw block, since it has all these different gradiated sizes of holes. I'm using some scrap 26 gauge parawire, which is enameled copper core, and I'm going to rotate it around this section, and you can use anything as a template for this part. You just want to make sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little rotations around it. Let's slide that off the end. You can also do that just around your fingers too. Just be sure to not do it too tightly. So here we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals, and I'm going to stack them on top of each other, and then just twist down here the way you would a twist tie. And you can see I'm really bracing that between my finger and thumb. And so from here we will open these petals, for lack of a better term, up into a star or flower where they're all equidistant. And then I'm going to take this and put it centered up on the end of a dowel. You can use whatever size you have on hand. This is a 1/2 inch. And then I'm just going through and laying down my wire. If you're experienced, you can just go from here, but you could also just use some low tack masking tape or painter's tape, or heck, you could just use Scotch tape or duct tape for all you know. It's this little bit here on the end gets discarded anyhow, so go ahead and just stabilize it. And try to get the points equidistant if you can. It's not too big of a deal, but the tighter and neater you keep it now, the easier things will be later on. So you can kind of see, just like that. And now, I'm actually going to use, if I were making a complete piece, like a bracelet or a necklace, I'd do like a couple arm lengths, arm spans of wire. But here I'm just using about a yard, maybe a yard and a half of wire. And I'm going to come through and just insert the wire from the top like this, and then bring it over and around. So we've got our first loop. See how that happened? If you don't have the hang of it yet, don't worry. We're about to do this like a million times. So now we have the end of our wire, and we have our next loop, and I'm threading in from the top towards myself. And also trying to do it by looking through the camera, and that messes up my depth perception. So yeah, threading in from, if the top is here and the bottom is the mandrel, threading in from the top towards myself. So it's not going away from me, it's going towards me. And then I'm going to grab that and just start sliding it through. A big thing that you want to avoid here is making a kinked up mess of wire, and that is exactly what your wire is going to really, really want to do. Just cause. And so you can just bring it through and around. Try to keep your spacing nice and even. And don't worry a whole lot right now about the loops looking real nice. That will establish itself. Right now we're just trying to get the base pattern going. So thread it in this way. I find to help keep the wire from kinking, if I keep my fingers kind of in the loop of the wire, it keeps them from pinching down as much. I have yet to find a surefire 100% way of keeping the wire from kinking on Viking knit. I'm just threading through, coming in from behind and then towards me. But you can see the way that the loop it's making. You want it to look like that. And you don't have to pull down as tight, that's just something that I do out of habit. And if you're having a difficult time getting in there, I have a porcupine quill, or you could use a needle or an awl or anything pokey, like a T-pin or something, safety pin. Get the tail out of there. Just to make a little bit of room for you to be able to fit the wire through. It's faster than struggling with it to just set your wire down, get a tool, and use that. And now we've come full rotation. We're back to our first wire. And you'll want to come behind, just right there. Just threads right behind like that. Kind of guide it down. What is it, baby? Do you want to let her out, honey? Thank you. And then on this first row, you can kind of just slide behind the whole loop. Like that. But for the next row, you can't really get away with that. I think it'll make sense as we get there. So you can, this is the beginning of our second row. Sliding behind both like that. Thank you, love. They probably went outside to go eat the mailman. Okay. And the key to Viking knit that we're doing here is just pure repetition. Okay, so now we've come to the end of our first row, or technically our second row. And you can see here, you're going to want to come through right there. So not through here, but through here. So in between rows 1 and 2, just like that. And so you can see now how that's starting to happen. Let's do one more full rotation. So yeah, here on the next one, just right through, right there. Not through here, but through here. I do recommend, if this is your first time wire wrapping or doing Viking weave or Viking knit, to use a nice 26 gauge or thinner wire. It's going to be a lot easier on your hands. It's a lot easier to manipulate. And, oops, I spilled beads again. It'll really help just keep things nice and easy. I mean, this can be a difficult enough weave that there's no sense in making it any harder for yourself than it has to be. Like or you can do like how most crafters I know do, and just start it off with like the most complicated thing you can think of, and then everything after that it's going to be easy by comparison. But I know that for some folks, especially if you're not an experienced crafter, taking that approach can really discourage a person. And we're back around. And sometimes it helps me to kind of get this tail off to the side and out of the way a bit. Whenever it all gets pulled through the draw plate, that tail will be concealed, so you don't have to worry about it. But this keeps me from it gets one less wire out of the way in trying to diffuse this thing. And so just like that. So that's how you get it started. Oops, I'm going to remove this and set it off to the side to revisit later. And I'm going to show y'all how to add in a new length. Because if you're making, like, especially like a necklace or something, you'll make it out of multiple smaller sections, as opposed to one ultra long. I mean, you're just gonna be making problems for yourself if you use, like, 20 feet of wire consecutively just in the beginning parts of the project. The amount of time that it's going to take just to pull all of that through, you'd go by faster if you didn't do it that way. So here we have, you can see where I finished off. And this is a 26 gauge, so you can already see it's a little bit more substantial. The wire's coming from above and then over. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come through on this side. And how would a person do this? I'm gonna, if I were to continue around, it would have inserted from this side. And I'm pulling through. There we go. And then there's our loop. And then I'm going to take our little tails here. And just for, this is for me, kind of just twist them together like that. It's not real important, but just until I get a couple more, until I get probably at least a row down. That helps me to feel like it's stable and I'm not going to accidentally pull my loop out. And so then I'm going to find our end. And I just continue that threading in from right to left. So yeah, this gives you a pretty good idea then of how this was only 2 arm spans worth of wire. And it already got some kinks in it because it tangled around my tripod and started pulling down on itself. So I try to avoid that as much as I can. But the more you practice this, the more you'll find your own personal preferences and balance of length versus frequency of having to add more wire in. It's like if you're doing cross stitch, instead of, you know, having the entire skein of one color onto the needle, you just put it on as you need it. Or cross stitch or embroidery, or even if you're hand stitching, sewing, like you don't need the whole bobbin of thread on there. You can always just go back in and add in another length. Also, this is an intensely entertaining project to do with cats, as I'm sure you can imagine. Might be more entertaining for them than for you, but it definitely, it'll definitely help the afternoon go by. Okay, so here we've come around a full rotation from where I added in the new wire. And I'm just going to reinsert and pretend like that join never happened. We're just going to ignore it. Because once this all gets drawn down, these little legs here will be hidden inside our Viking knit. And it just keeps repeating. And you can see here, I'm a pretty messy Viking knitter, weaver. There are some folks who, I mean, it's just meticulously beautiful and perfect. And it's like, I am not one of those people. So we are just going to continue doing this until we reach the end, at which point I will meet y'all back here. So here we have our Viking knit. And we've got a good almost 5 inches worth. And so that should be plenty for just what I'm doing. So I'm just going to carefully pull it off of our mandrel. And I've got some pokey bits just coming in here, so I'm actually going to get in there with my bent nose pliers and straighten out any odd bits. And so now I'm going to take my draw block, or my draw plate, and insert this tail end. Also, I wanted to make a side note. I made mine with just 5 petals. You could do 6, you could do 8, you could do, I mean, just however many as you like. It'll make, you'll just get different effects, you know, every time. So I'm going to go through the biggest setting on my draw block. I'm actually going to thread my pliers through the loops here on the ends. And there's a tool called, I think it's like a lazy daisy or something. And that's great for keeping your loops equidistant, but to do this part you have to go through and rethread the wire through your loops. And so for me, it's like from my perspective, once I got the hang of doing just the looped head, this was way easier because I don't have to go back and redo more work. So this first time drawing it through is kind of difficult. And that's it. That's the first draw. It really makes everything kind of nice and the same size. If you can kind of see that. Right now it looks a little bit like a jumbled mess, so I'm going to keep pulling it down through consecutively smaller openings. You can probably skip a couple. And I'm honestly probably not going to need it smaller than what looks to be a size 10 knitting needle, or 5 3/4 millimeters. That's really specific. This actually made way more Viking knit than what I needed. That's fine. But yeah, so there is some Viking knit. If I did more than just the 5 loops, it would have given me a much denser weave. But I kind of wanted just something that looked basically just like this. And now to finish the ends, what I would do just gonna wrap my little tail around the end there. But I have these bead caps that I made in a different tutorial. If I remember to, I'll put the link up here somewhere on the screen. And you want to make sure that your bead cap fits over the tip of your wire. And my bead cap is actually quite large for it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this knitting needle and just kind of tighten down. You can see at the end of the needles, I'm just tightening down this coil to resize it. It's making it a little longer but a little narrower, and that's perfect for what we're doing here. You can also take it and like roll it on the table, just anything to get it nice and even and spread out. And there we are. Let's feed through as much and many of the loops as I can. Just like that. Bring this up. And then feed it through just like that. And now from here, I'm actually going to do a little 90-degree bend with it nice and snug as I can get it actually. And then I'm going to snip with my pliers, giving myself about 1 centimeter. And I'm going to splay these open so that one is coming one way and one is coming the other. And I'm just going to make a little loop like this. There's on one side. And there is on the other side. And so now I can join a jump ring to that, and it'll be very secure, nice and secure on the ends of what we're doing. And then you can thread your beads on however you like. I have a little bit of odd wire poking out right there, so I'm going to trim it and kind of squig a little bit, because you can take your Viking chain and kind of mill it a bit, like just give it a little bit more wiggle and stretch. It's almost akin to breaking up the grains in leather, just getting it to be a little more wriggly. But that way it'll hang nice and smooth. And you put your bail on it however you like. But that's right there, that's how you finish the ends up of your Viking knit. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Was it helpful? Like, I hope the tutorial was. A big thing to keep in mind here is to be patient with yourself and to be persistent, and to not be afraid to try different things. What works for me might not be ideal for you, and that's perfectly okay. That doesn't make it wrong or less accurate. It's the end result that we're working towards. Also in this tutorial, I only did a 5-petal. You can do, I think I mentioned it, but a lot of emphasis here. You can do however many petals as you like, and it'll give you a much denser weave and kind of show off a little bit more the meticulously repetitive Viking knit pattern that does look so cool. But for what I was using this one for, I wanted a nice open airy weave to contrast the dense kind of very structural and substantial wrapping of the piece that's going on this. If y'all enjoy my free tutorials, and please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, all that stuff. If you're interested in becoming a patron on Patreon, for just $1 a month, you can put your name in the hat to win a really cute little hand-sculpted Home for the Gnomeless. This is the one for January's prize, but I do one every month. And also, we're coming up real close on our first like mile marker goal, and once we hit that goal, I'll be doing 2 giveaways a month, so it doubles your chances of winning something, which is fun. And all of the proceeds of my Patreon account go towards like tools and materials for more tutorials, as well as whenever I teach panels and workshops at conventions, it covers the expensive tools and materials for the con goers there. So your contributions help keep this artisan education going that I'm trying to, it'll spread around. You know, it's we've made our living for 9 years now off of making stuff with our hands, my partner and I have, and I would like to encourage other people as much as I'm able to not be afraid to pursue making stuff and selling it, and kind of, you know, keeping a roof over your head and keeping your mouth fed by doing something that makes you happy and is gratifying and rewarding, and, you know, all that stuff. So you don't have to stay a slave to the system. You can make jewelry. So anyways, I just spilled more beads. I don't know why I bother cleaning this craft room. I'm gonna go clean up that mess I just made in my exuberant excitement. But I hope y'all have a fantastic day. I hope you make some Viking knit and let me know what you think of it. And I'll see you guys around. I love all of you. Bye, guys.